Oh shit! We start already?
We are starting now.
Did we? Did I already interrupt?
No, you did not interrupt. we're
Oh,
we're just getting started.
all right, all right, all right.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is the Highly Advised Podcast. I am here with Lau and Spence. We are having a good weekend. Football has started again. It's a good time of year. How are y'all doing, Lau, Spence? Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Boop, boop, booty, boop,
Yo.
boop, boop, bop. It's your boy Big Cozy, Too Cozy, a.k.a. El Capitan, a.k.a. the Grande Don, a.k.a. all that and all that between, Mr. 10 bricks a week. Hey, man, I'm having a good week. I ain't gonna lie. It's a good week, school. My daughter doing her schooling from home, so shouts out to my daughter's school, you know what I mean? They try and do the best to educate the future generation. Other than that, man, just a solid week, I guess. And how about you, Spence? How's your week rocking and rolling?
Man, my week's been pretty good, man. I can't even call it. Real chill for the most part. Been actually, I went back and listened to that Big Sean album again, and I gotta say, I gotta walk back my statements. Everything I said, that album's really good. Yeah, that album was really good. I gotta renege on everything I said.
That album's
That
good,
album
yo.
was, yeah,
Yeah, man.
like,
Top 10.
yeah. At first, when y'all said it last time, because like I was just saying to myself, saying like, yo, how in the world can they find this to be a top 10 album? Granted, there's not a lot to choose from, but once I listened to it again several times, I'm like, hands down, top 10 album of it. Top 10, possibly top five for the year. So
What did it for you on that album?
it might be, it might be Lucky Me.
Yo, I was running to that song the other morning. Let me tell you, you talking about a boost of energy. When that second part came on, I was like, yo, man, I'm about to fucking kill this shit.
Yeah, because to me, it's like you just feel what he's talking about.
Yeah,
Because I
man.
think that's the one where it's like he starts rapping like fast at the end, right?
And he's talking about Western medicine and having a heart issue or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get started, I just wanted to point out I got the shirt on. Shouts out to Nonchalant G's, the Nonchalant clothing brand.
Big Mike.
Nice.
Big Mike, you know what I mean? Hook me up with some nice merch. I
Hey.
appreciate it. You know what I mean? Go and check his page out. Nonchalant Clothing Brand. Nonchalant Clothing Brand.
You gotta say it 3 times like Dr. Umar.
Nonchalant Clothing Brand. That's the third time.
Cat,
Right there.
get on your Cash App. Get on your Cash App. Buy Nonchalant Clothing Brand. Get on your Cash App. Buy Nonchalant Clothing Brand. Get on your Cash App. Buy Nonchalant Clothing Brand. That's all.
Support
That's all.
them,
Like,
man. Good
Yeah,
people
run it.
over there.
Run it up.
facts. No cap.
Buy some shirts, buy some pants, buy all the shit.
No Kizzy.
Don't
like,
you
all
think
right.
this is what is this, a 70s movie, man?
No,
Kizzy.
that's the new shit now. That's the new shit now. No
Oh
Kizzy.
God, man.
Yeah.
So hold on. So all right. So is the fashizzle my nizzle lingo coming back? Then, if that's the case,
That is a form of it, yeah.
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 In a sense, you're
is.
right. Yeah.
no
No
Kizzy.
Kizzy.
Man, nah.
No kizzle, my nizzle. No, oh no, I'm not capping my izzle. What are we doing, yo? What are we doing? Stop it! Stop!
Nah.
Stop!
Hey,
So-
man, that's this generation. But go ahead, Nigel.
So a little bit of an update to something we were talking about last week. Matt Hardy does not have a concussion, even though he busted his head on some concrete. He will be okay. And not only that, he said he's going to rest up and he's going to go for the title next.
They are going to crucify this man.
I
That's
believe
all
him.
I got to say.
No, I believe that. He probably does definitely have some like, hey, I need to take like a half a year off or something like that. But I believe that, if he says he's good, then he's good. You know what I mean?
He's not good. Vince is not Vince, but whoever's running the show over at AEW said, "Hey, listen, slide him some bread. Slide the refs or whoever the medical team some bread." Said, "Yo, listen, you gonna tell him that he's okay. This COVID is killing people, but it's also hurting companies. We need him to be on the show." That's all that happened.
I gotta agree with Spence here. I'm not favorable to Matt Hardy return. Plus, besides, right, you look at Matt Hardy, he had he's had a long career, right? He was part of our childhood when we grew up watching wrestling.
Right.
So honestly, I have no interest in seeing him, go for any type of fucking title. Like it does nothing for me. And I don't know how he doesn't have a fucking concussion. He was clearly knocked out. It's man, that's like a ninth wonder of the world to me on
So
how he
I'm
does have
telling
a
you, it's a
concussion.
botch medical team, yo.
here's what I'll no. So
It's
here's
a
what I will
botch
say.
team.
Here's what I will say, right? We all know Mason Rudolph, the dude who, got hit in the helmet last year, blah, 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 right?
Matt Hardy woke up on the toilet like, how did I get here?
No.
And declares he doesn't have a concussion. Come
Right.
on,
Hold on,
man.
wait, you're right. Hold on, wait, you're right. But like Mason Rudolph got knocked out last year in the middle of a game. Like he got hit in the helmet really hard, fell on the ground. It was out for like what looked to be a couple minutes. So
Right.
you see some people like that, they get knocked out, they might have a concussion, but then you'll see some people who get hit in the head like lightly, look a little dazed, and their concussion will last for like a long time. Like it's weird. Like the way concussions work, it's not an exact science. Like I've looked into it, like especially for football. Like it's one of those things where I'm sure Matt Hardy was concussed. Fuck what they say. But concussions are also kind of weird scientifically, is what I will say.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but it's true. That's true, but it's. I'm sorry. Some people's body doesn't defy the laws of science, man.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like
I hear you.
There's some to me. There's like I'm saying. There's a botched team somewhere that got the medical reports and said he was okay, yo. Because they know if they found out he had a concussion, they would have had to said, yo, we got to park you for a little bit. And let's be honest, everybody needs money right now. Businesses are losing money because of the
Right.
virus.
Right.
So I'm not saying they are doing it, but all I remember was with what was the fighting thing over there back in the day? Shit, you know what I'm talking about? Pride, like Pride.
Oh, yeah, what about
yeah,
Pride?
Yeah.
Like how they used to be like how like you hear people back in the day talking about, oh yeah, we would read the contracts and it would say in large letters and full caps, large letters, you can do steroids. Like do whatever you can to win. Like I mean, I think it's just sometimes the same thing. Definitely in this situation.
Yeah.
That Matt Hardy looked like he was on. I don't think he's that great. He's not that great of an actor to be able to make it look like he was knocked out like that. I'm sorry.
I mean, we all saw he was clearly knocked out. This could be a thing of where like Matt Hardy is kind of like, look, man, this is what I'm living for. And I don't want to assume, right? Because I don't know his financial situation, but it could be a thing where it's like, hey, me and my family, we need this money, blah, blah, blah. Please don't take us off the show right now, blah, type of thing. So it could have been something where like, hey, we're going to try to misconstrue the report. Well, if you don't have a concussion, so this way you could like actively perform or some shit like that. But once again, to me, it doesn't do anything, right? Because like, let's say Matt Hardy, he's the champion of AEW, right? Do you see yourself being like, yo, man, I gotta tune into AEW every week now because Matt Hardy's the champ? No, he's an old school act to help get views, but he's not what's going to push the company over to become, bring pro wrestling back from its fame from the 90s and 2000s. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I mean, I think that, it was more or less they did it for the sake of Matt Hardy and for the company, you know what I mean? And that's really what it is. But, like, speaking of, like, Pride and MMA and stuff like that, did y'all hear about Nick Diaz trying to make a return?
I believe it when I see it, right? The Diaz brothers, they're notorious for a lot of talking and a lot of hype and shit like that. And they've I feel like they've disappointed fans quite a bit lately. I mean, especially Nick. Like Nick, he's been too busy smoking weed every day, getting high. I don't know if his fighting is like really what he wants to do. Now, I'm not saying that he's broke or anything like that, but it could be a thing where he's just kind of like, look, maybe I should just try to get some quick money to get my next, mountain of weed or some shit like that.
I'm not gonna lie, like I don't really care about them at the moment. Like they're part-time fighters; they fight when they want. and then they expect the world and more when they do fight. It's like they'll come out of retirement after like 3 years, or shouldn't even say retirement, after they hiatuses, and then they'll be like, "Oh, I moved the chart, so I should get a title shot." It's like, no, man, it doesn't work like that. Like, there's like 8 fighters who have been fighting like 5 times a year, like, yeah, actively, like, really putting in work. You can't just jump the fucking ladder. Like, it doesn't work like that, no matter who you are. I hate when Conor McGregor does that shit. It's the most frustrating thing. Of course, Conor's Conor.
Yeah, Conor's Conor, but I mean, eventually we're gonna see the same thing with Conor too, where Connor's gonna be eventually Conor is gonna get to a point he's gonna fade out, and when as he fades out, and the talent level just keeps rising like it has been within that N155 weight class, he's gonna still think he has the pull that he once did, which he won't, and he'll realize that in the hardest way because of just the lifestyle that he's been living. Like, I'm not sure if y'all heard about that shit, but well, I don't want to get too far away from the Nick Diaz thing. But
No, you're good. You're good.
all right. Well, I was just gonna say, I don't know if y'all heard about the shit or not, but he got arrested in like Carseca or something like that on Saturday, I believe. He got arrested in Carseca on Saturday for like sexual assault, alleged sexual assault, and indecent exposure. But eventually, he was actually let out later that day with no prosecution or anything like following up. So they're still doing an investigation on it. But how do you guys feel about? How do you feel about that? Just because of like everything that Conor's been going through in the media over the past year or two, from punching the guy in the bar, the old guy in the bar, to I think he got into some other trouble also. So like, how do you feel about this whole situation?
Cocaine is a hell of a drug, in the words of Rick James, R.I.P. Rick James. And
R.I.P.,
I like Conor Ray. I'm a Conor fan, and I root for him. But it's coming to, like, we live in a society where, like, when allegations come out, people love to, like, go ahead and chastise and automatically deal guilt. And I think that's wrong, right? Because there's been false accusations before where people just trying to look for a come up, or right, people are trying to, like, be malicious towards somebody, so they do something very heinous like that. I just think that for Conor, though, man, like, it's like, man, you keep getting yourself in similar trouble. It's either like, look, man, you need to not go out publicly, do private shit and surround yourself with security, or you need to fucking, you know what I mean, maybe change your scenery, where like where the places you do go out, you're not going to be nowhere near involved in shit like that. And it's because I feel like it's happening a little too often now for him, where now you're going to have people be like, well, this is happening a lot. Maybe he's fucking doing it and he's just getting away with it. And that would really suck for somebody like him, right? And because like yes, he's quote unquote retired when we all believe that he's not.
Right.
But he's in a position where, like, if he comes back today, yes, he might not get a media title shot due to like everything that's going on, but he will get a headlining pay-per-view fight, and more than likely it's going to be the biggest pay-per-view of the fucking year. You know what I mean? And his pay-per-view against Donald Cerrone is still the highest selling pay-per-view of the fucking year. That happened in January. You know what I mean?
So here's what I'll say about it, right? I have 2 things to say about it, and then we can kind of move on.
Okay.
One, he should get like a new entourage, because like apparently, like, if he had nothing to do with this, if I was around people and they got caught in this type of situation, you can't hang around me. You got to go. Like, I shouldn't be questioned about your nonsense like that unless it's just like, hey, they got a mistake, I didn't do anything, da 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 da. Okay, cool, whatever. 2, like you said, Lyle, like, this is happening too often. This is the second time in like a 2-year span, or 2 or 3 year span, where he's been caught in a situation like this. I was talking a lot early in the week, and I was like, when R. Kelly, when we first talked about him, he got caught, with the little girl in 2006 or 2004 or whatever. Like, we looked at it, we were like, it's kind of weird, but da 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 da. Like, people made their excuses and whatnot. When like 12 or 20 women came out and said that, now we believe them when we should have believed the first one a long time ago, because motherfucker was guilty. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if this happens again in like you don't have any proof to defend yourself, you're doing something wrong. And honestly, one time can be too many. 2 times is way too many. And like a third time, you really got to look at yourself and change something.
I think I think the first time you should really look at yourself, and I feel like if it goes past the first time, right, and this is like if the first time, let's say the first time happened and he was guilty, right? He committed what was accused of him,
Right.
Fuck him. But the
Yeah,
first
exactly.
time, but the first time, all right, he got past it. It was all false or whatever like that. All right, now the second time, now you gotta start looking like, dude, like, how'd you get yourself back in this situation? Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'll just leave it on that because obviously it's going to be a story that's going to be developing as the weeks come by. You know.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's not really much for me to even say on this situation because you guys have said most of everything I would say. I mean, only thing I would just say is like you both said, he needs to really pay attention to who all is around him and just start making better decisions. And in his situation, he probably just needs to focus on the sport right now more than anything. So, but it'll be a huge payday for him nonetheless. Hopefully, it's similar to like the Canelo situation right now.
Yeah.
Canelo, he's suing Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy right now. Oscar De La Hoya, aka Golden Boy, and Dazen filed for it Friday or whatever, or Thursday in LA. They dismissed it because of something with Dazen, where they have multiple locations across the country. So his biggest issue is just like, yo, y'all not trying to pay me the money for my fights or whatever, or they won't allow him to do some shit with his fights. So apparently, the only thing that he has to do is just him and his lawyer has to go back. They have to go back into it and just really figure out what the hell's going on and who exactly they're suing, and then we'll figure out more about it. So
I hope Canelo wins. You guys know I'm not their biggest Oscar De La Hoya fan, so I hope Canelo wins. I hope he gets away from Golden Boy, not necessarily from DAZN, but just Golden Boy. Man, they're in shambles right now. A lot, they're not looking too hot, and that's what happens when you get tied in with the cokehead of the century.
Jesus.
yo, I can't wait for Oscar to actually fight so you can talk more shit about him, man.
Yeah, it's super funny, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I hate.
well, I mean, if we want to kind of get into another situation with a legal issue, the Suicide Boys are being sued by 3-6 Mafia over what looks to be a sampling issue.
Yeah, I sued for like $6 million by Juicy J and DJ Paul from 3-6. Apparently, I think there's over like 60 songs or something like that.
Jesus. God, I believe that shit, though.
Yeah.
I believe that shit.
Yeah, because I rock with the Suicide Boys.
I fuck with them, too.
Yeah, like I really rocked with them for maybe back in like 2018, 2017, like heavy.
Right.
But like I rock with them, but they do have you could definitely hear the influence with 3-6 Mafia. So apparently Vlad pulled up did a throwback interview, I think right after this was announced, saying something about where DJ Paul he was with like the C to 6 or whatever for an interview, and pretty much just was like, yeah, Suicide Boys, they can't make a song without sampling 3-6 Mafia. But he was like, I'll sue them down the line. And I guess he finally decided to cash in on this.
I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say I've never been a Suicide Boys fan. When I listen to their music, I'm like, okay, I think it's something. It's like a niche type of sound for me, and to me, I don't know. I just don't care for. I like 3-6 Mafia though, like especially like their
sure.
Yeah, I like their underground shit too. Before their debut studio album, Mystic Styles, and
Coops the Necka.
Yeah, I fucks all that, Lord Infamous.
That's his name.
Yeah, shout outs to Crunchy Black, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch that interview later.
Shouts out to Crunchy Black. Shouts out to the Skinny Pimp. Nigel, you remember the Skinny Pimp,
Skinny
right?
Pimp,
yeah. So I fucks with the old school 3-6, but like for real, like a lot of like the whole Suicide Boys, it's like their majority of their catalog is 3-6 samples or 3-6 influence, and nothing wrong with that, right? Because artists, current generation artists, future generation artists, are always going to take influential things, right?
Right.
It's always like a once in a generation artist where it's like really original. So I have no problem with them being influenced and trying to make 3-6 like music. I just think that if you're going to use the samples and you're going to make up money from it because they clearly are making money from it, it's just like, damn, you should really go ahead and get that fucking cleared. And apparently that was the issue, that the music wasn't cleared from DJ Paul or Juicy J for them to go ahead and sample the shit.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I mean, you would have think, like you said, you would think they would know to sample to get all their samples cleared.
Yeah.
Definitely, but more than likely, I think it's probably since they're like independent, they probably just figured, hey, let's just try to run it up as much as we can, and just wait till a lawsuit comes, which probably wasn't the smartest thing. Now more than likely they're gonna lose like
A lot of money.
yeah, because typically I'm not sure if you know, but if you go get a record cleared before you put it out, right?
Yeah.
You could probably get maybe a decent split where it could be maybe 50-50, right? So every dollar that comes in, you and the person you sample split it 50-50.
Right.
But let's say you put the song out and then you try to get cleared and it's a hit song, or it's like, oh, it's successful, then you might not get any of it. You might not get any money from the song at all. Because that's what happened with like Cameron with Old Boy. They just put the song out. And he was like, yeah, it was the worst decision I could have done. He was like, we were just up at the station, da-da-da. I just gave it to him because we just recorded it, put it out, it became a hit. He said the person we sampled it from, they were like, we want all the money. So they get 100% of the royalties from that song.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's only fair, right? Because it's kind of like, and Nigel, right? You make music, you make beats, right?
Yes,
so
I
let's say one of your songs, somebody heard it, they're like, "Hey, man, I fuck with this part. Let me sample it," and boom, they blow the fuck up. You're gonna be like, "Hold the fuck up!" Like, part of your success came from my hard work, like, and you definitely didn't reach out to me, bro. Like, and you're gonna be like, "I need all them coins. I need all of that." You know what I mean?
I get it, and it's one of those things where it's like, I understand, and I think that's part of the reason why music sounds the way it does now compared to the way it did like maybe like a decade or two ago, where it was very sample heavy, and me personally, like, I fuck with that old sound, but I understand why the sound has changed because people want their bread, and I'm not, I can't hate on that.
You're right. That's why producers get a lot more love and shine today than, like, I'm not saying producers back then don't get shine, but it was more like behind the scenes, like if you know type of deal. Where now it's kind of like some of the producers, they're like superstars themselves now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're seeing where they're just more of a celebrity now. Like someone from like Metro to Sunny Digital.
Yeah.
To Southside. Like Southside he might actually have there could be a conversation in terms of one of the top producers from the last decade. Like you look at someone like him or even London on the Track, like big producers, but like we just know them as the person now in comparison to before. So it's more like a designer brand of producers today.
Right.
Well, did y'all listen to not Kanye, damn, Conway's new album?
Yeah.
Yep, from a king to a god.
How'd you feel about it?
So I'm a Griselda guy, right? I like Griselda.
Okay.
I think the album it's all right at best. And
Spence disagrees. Look at his face. Look at the eyebrows. You can tell he disagrees.
I mean, I don't know what's going on.
I didn't say anything.
I don't know what's going on. I think the albums are at best. I listened to it more than once, right? There's some songs out there that really stick out to me. The Alchemist produced song, I like that. I like that one a lot. That might be my favorite song off the whole album.
Which one is that?
I got a question for y'all after y'all give your thoughts, by the way, as well.
Do and Damani.
Yeah, that song's dope.
Yeah. Yeah, so that I like that song a whole lot. But there's certain songs on there where I'm just kind of I'm not feeling like the one song we had with Dej Loaf. I thought that song was fine, and then when you put Dej Loaf on it, I was just kind of like, and I'm not saying Dej Loaf is a bad artist, so I don't want people to sit there like, oh, he's criticizing her. I just don't think she fitted on that song, which kind of killed the vibe for me of that song. So there was just certain songs in there that I didn't care for. The one with like Flea Lord, I was like Juvenile to Hell. I was like, it's okay, it's not all that, you know. And it was more like of a there were half an album was like, it's okay, and then half an album was like, yo, I fuck with this. I really like it. Like I like Spurs 3. I thought that was a dope ass fucking song. So it's just to me the album was all right at best. I mean, with that being said, the album is still better than a lot of fucking albums that came out today. But if we're gonna really like seriously talk about it, I think it's all right.
I can see where you coming from to an extent. I don't really agree.
Mm,
Nah, straight up.
mm.
The album is nice. To me,
Okay.
the album it's a fire album to me
Okay.
for the most part. Like there are a couple tracks that like some that Loud named that are like a little like I could do without. But like even to me, like the Dej Loaf feature, it didn't feel weird to me. Like I was just like, oh, it's the thing I actually liked the most about it was just seeing like how he was able to incorporate someone like Dej Loaf and like other artists like that, where it didn't sound like it was like something he was chasing. You get what I mean? Because I forget the name of the one track because I just typically press play on albums definitely when they get released.
Yeah, you said
But
that like 5 times at least on this. If any listeners listening to this, I want to know how many times Spencer said that sentence. It's
Nigel,
cool. It's just funny.
Nigel give you $100.
I will.
So yeah, out of his own personal account.
Mm,
But nah. Long story short, I really liked the album. Uh, it had a couple tracks where I didn't care for the joints where he had like the people incorporated. Kind of showed me like where I was questioning what would happen with Griselda, right?
right.
Because my whole issue is with Griselda, they're a growing brand, right? As a label itself, like they probably may be the most stacked label we've seen in decades. To be honest with you, with definitely with no one being the star. I'll say that much. Like they probably are one of the rarest labels we've seen where no one is technically speaking. There's no star at Griselda Records. There's no one star at Griselda to some extent because where you could say Benny, some could say West Side, right?
Right.
My whole thing is I was always curious to see how they would actually transition into making a song that can actually get played like in like different spaces without it feeling like, oh man, they're chasing the song, they're chasing that club hit or whatever. But he had like I forget the song, but it was at the end. It sounded to me. It sounded perfect. I was like, okay, this is the song you put out for the girls in the streets and the clubs and all of that all at once. So to me, I thought it was a good album. It did made me like look into some of like the posts that they were having, and I saw where Westside. It was a couple things Westside posted about it that threw me off. But long story short, showed something posting where it's him and his brother. They're both their billboards up in Times Square at the same time, which was super dope.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And yeah, and then he reflected back to that conversation last year about Griselda having the best year over like Dreamville, TDE, da da da. We had talked about it off mic about Kendrick being spotted and SZA dropping some new music and everything like that. Do you think like what we've seen from Griselda and with just this Conway project being the next the newest project out of the Griselda camp? Do you think it's even if TDE all of TDE decided to drop for the end of the year, right? Do you think there's anybody that can if not TDE, even with that assumption, do you think there's anybody that can even compete with them in terms of like label of the year?
No.
No.
No, they by far have the best label of the year, and I don't think it's a question.
Yeah. I agree with Nigel. I think they're clearly the best rap label, and I every artist, right? I'm talking about from like the main core, not the subdivisions and all that shit like that. Every artist from that's under like the Griselda label, you know what I mean? I just feel like they're all good fucking rappers, right? Even Armani Caesar, right? I was a little critical of her first when I heard that first initial verse on the West Side Project, but you know she can rap, you know what I mean? And I understand that she's gonna be dropping a album soon or something like that, and I'm looking forward to listen to it, you know what I mean? And I just think that you have these rap labels in general, like QC and shit like that, that you a lot of the artists are known artists and all that stuff like that, but not all of them make great fucking music. Not all of them make good music. You know what I mean? And it's like they're kind of like living off the fame of being associated with the level. I mean, with the label instead of their music is carrying them their self. And I I think that Griselda is label of the year. I feel like they have a West Side Gun alone has a lot of projects in the top five, in my opinion, right, of albums and projects of the year. And I feel like that, with that being said, they're not going to get the recognition that they're going to deserve, right? Because right now, the topic of music is like, shouts out to Big Sean, and he deserves the love he gets, right? Big Sean is a big artist that can actually rap, so shouts out to him. But there's other artists that are getting the shine that I feel like they're not as good artists as Griselda rappers, right? So I'm not talking about Big Sean in this, but you have rappers like 6ix9ine and NBA YoungBoy who they're they don't make, in my opinion, right? And I know we all have different opinions, but in my opinion, I don't think they make good music compared to Griselda. They don't, and but they're going to get the shine, the recognition, and all that stuff because that's just they're a lot more popular with the generation right now, and I think that Conway puts out better music than those two artists I just mentioned, and I don't want to get I don't want to get super sidetracked about the music and all that stuff. But since I mentioned 6ix9ine, there's something that I really want to say about like the whole 6ix9ine album.
Okay.
I was listening to a little bit of the Joe Budden's podcast today, and I kind of sent it to you guys. I don't know if Nigel, if you're aware, because I understand that you were busy early this morning.
Right.
But Spence, he seen it because he replied back. So the thing with 6ix9ine,
Right.
I think with him selling 55,000, it really tells the tale of him in his rap career. And on the Joe Budden podcast, Joe Budden was like, his people 6ix9ine's people reached out to him for the interview, and Joe said something to me that stuck out to me a whole lot. Is this about the music? And now when people really sit back and think about it, when 6ix9ine initially broke the Instagram Live record, it wasn't about his music. When 6ix9ine was, he's going out on these interviews and stuff like that, he's not really talking about his music. He's not. The only time 6ix9ine's mentioned anything about his music is hey, I dropped a song. But even at the same time, he's not really promoting it. He's really promoting his merch. He's getting into drama with other artists and all that stuff like that. Whether you agree with his whole snitching thing or not, that depends on who you are and where you come from, right? And I feel like this guy, he's more worried about the clicks and the likes than his art of music, and that's why his album sales are what they are. Because if the guy genuinely made great music, dope music, right? No matter the bullshit, how controversial he could be, the album sales will be there. Look at Big Sean. He hasn't rapped in years, right? And he comes out with an album, and it's the number one selling album of the week,
So
right? And let me say this last point, and I'll let you get it in. And now I'm seeing this argument of pause. Yeah. Now I'm now I'm seeing this.
Jesus.
It's
Just had to put it in there.
yeah. No, it's
so perfect.
It's like a sprinkle of
it's
salt, man.
yeah, it's all good. Nothing wrong with it.
Just
But
a dash of pause.
there's this new defense out there now, right? And I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it. Oh, he's been blackballed for the industry. They're not putting me on the playlist. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. Well, NBA YoungBoy, right? He's an artist that is really popular as well. He's also not getting no radio play. He's also not getting highlights on playlists on DSPs, and he sold 140,000 in the first week. Well, he's on pace to sell 140,000 in the first week. That's that.
So,
So
so
is that more or less a thing of, hey, are you really blackballed? Right? I mean, yeah, they're not plastering you on the front page, but here's an artist who's not being plastered on the front page, but they they sold a whole lot more than you. You know what I mean?
But
So
NBA,
it goes to show that the quality of music, it's more or less of the music versus the character.
right? I mean, but see, NBA YoungBoy, I feel like NBA YoungBoy is a little different to me, just because one, like with NBA YoungBoy, he has a huge following. Like his following hands down is much bigger than 6ix9ine's, right? So I think for him in his case, I think he's probably getting put in some of the playlists from my understanding. But I think with 6ix9ine, it's a little 6ix9ine situation is a little different because I do agree to some extent with the blackballing thing, just because I do know when I checked certain DSPs, you couldn't find his album. You had to manually search for his album, right? Because I saw something about it. I saw something about it trending on Twitter, right?
right.
So I checked it out, saw where you have to physically find it yourself. Outside of just the DSPs, I know there was a drop in his album sales due to the bundling, right? Where there's a drop in the bundling, right? Which I personally think I think the reason, granted, they were going to get rid of the bundling, packing, counting bundling or whatever in October. They came up with a day and everything, but I do personally believe they pinpointed, hey, we're going to move it up. Whenever he drops, we're going to put it out the same day. And I say that just because I think you can't really go out somewhere saying, oh, they're cheating, they're rigging the system, blah, 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 and then think they're going to play fair with you at the end of the day. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, you can't spit in someone's face I can't spit in your face and then say, hey, can I use your bathroom?
So here's my thing, right? Like with the whole 6ix9ine thing, I think it's just kind of funny that he's saying like, "Oh, I'm blackballed, da 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 da." It's like one, like Spence said, Billboard. Two, like you know what I mean. Like nobody's really gonna want to support you from this rap community. You know what I mean. So, I honestly like the way I see it is like it's a little bit of karma mixed with a little bit of hey, like we don't really want you here either. So, I think those two together are kind of working in the favor of like I think those two are working in the favor of, hey, we don't like your sales aren't going to be promoted over here, but also I don't think people are really interested in 6ix9ine the artist. They're worried about 6ix9ine the troll, and it's
Exactly.
like you know what I mean. Like 6ix9ine the troll will go out to these places where people got shot and people got killed, and people want to see that, but people will listen to his music once and then be done with it. He's not really making the dopest music ever, so it's
I'm,
like we don't really have to worry about it.
I mean, yes and no. And I only say yes and no because one thing I did recognize is that even though his sales are diminishing down to 55,000 for the first week, the one thing I do realize is that you match that up against like the quote unquote some of the hot artists of the younger artists, and you realize, oh, they are in the same, they're selling around the same space. So to me, I think if this is really if this is like his low, to be honest with you, he's probably going to be able to have a decent career. I just don't think his music. To me personally, I don't listen to his music. I don't care for his music. I don't support anything that he does personally. But just from seeing his interviews and stuff like that, and seeing how he moves, I do agree with what Lau was saying earlier about where everything seems like he does it more for the likes than actually trying to push the music.
Right.
So it's interesting watching. I watched a couple different interviews of his, from one with the Shade Room and one with Jake Paul. Yeah, I mean, it's just another part of a show. Seeing him long enough now, you can just see how manipulative he is, and how like he tries to trick the system. All in all, like
Well,
it's kind of crazy.
The thing about him, right, is like, and this is the last thing I'll say on it because I know we have other topics to really spend our time on, but like with him, I look at it like, look, when I was watching like the Joe Budden thing, Joe Budden mentioned like, oh well, his people said this would be the biggest interview that he'll ever have, and granted that may be true, right, due to how controversial the guy is, but at the same time, like, yo, what you gonna come on the podcast for isn't about your music, and that's the problem, right? Because that's the whole thing. I'm gonna expose new information about what's been going on with me, blah 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 blah. Whether it's new information or not, right? Or tea, as what people say today, it's not. It's not fucking. It has nothing to do with this album that just came out. And I think that's what a lot of things that some people are ignoring. Like, yo, like this dude. That's why his album sales, in my opinion. Yes, I mean, if you want to make the argument for the blackball thing, that's fine. But his album sales are not. They're not matching the amount of
Shit, he's talking.
Right.
amount of shit he's talking. Plus his Instagram follower count is bigger than certain artists right now. Right? He's over like 20 million. His album sales are not matching 20 million Instagram followers, and I think
that Instagram thing is a little different though, because I think in his case he's no different than his Instagram account. Our following is just that high because of the entertainment that he gives.
exactly,
Yeah, and that's part of it, and it's just really part of the thing. But like,
exactly.
it's weird. Like, it doesn't really all equate up. And at the end of the day, like, we're gonna see how the 6ix9ine situation will play out and figure out as to how it goes.
Let Lau get his throw off right before we move on.
My bad.
No.
Finish this thought.
No. It's all good. I was just saying, exactly. You know what I mean? People that majority of people following 6ix9ine isn't necessarily let me listen to fucking Gugu, Tata, Kiki, all the other shit that he puts out. And they're listening. They're going on 6ix9ine's page to be like, okay, what craziness is he about to post? What craziness? That's it. There's some people that probably don't even like rap music that's following 6ix9ine. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah, he talked about some of that shit and just was like, he's a doof at the end of the day. From when it's all said and done, just looking at it and seeing like all like the shenanigans, and understanding like what he's trying to do within the interviews. It's similar to like how like the way you're able to see what he's trying to do and the strengths he's trying to pull. It's kind of similar to like this whole thing with Charlamagne the God and Joe Budden right now with that whole like, because I'm quite sure y'all heard about like the whole thing with him and the dog. Well, you're a dog person actually. How do you feel about that, Nigel? About them saying he jerked off his dog?
Look, man, if he jerked off his dog, he's jerked off his dog. I'm not gonna lie. I personally don't care what him and his dog do in his personal time, though. But what I will say is,
asking a question.
no. I'm not saying it like to be like a dick or anything like that. I'm just saying.
I'm just asking a question. I know how dog people are, man.
I love my dog. Like when I had it, I'd never jerk it off. I'd never, play with its privates. I find that shit, it's fucking weird,
bro.
Nah, I mean that's what he did. What do you want me to say? He said he jerked his dog off. Like what do you want me to say?
It's the description for me. It's the specifics for me.
Right. Hey, look, that's what he said he was doing. Like, so I'm not. Look, I would never do that shit. I find that shit to be kind of gross. But it's like. Fucking like if you listen to the thing that Joe Budden was saying, he said or he played a clip where Charlamagne said like, yeah, I was high and I let a dog lick my balls. That shit's fucking weird. All of that shit's weird.
That shit was wild. I was like, oh man. I was like, honestly, when I heard that, I was like, oh, they like really beefing. Like the podcast. This is like a podcast beef.
Oh yeah, they're
that
definitely
shit
beefing.
Yeah, like that shit was wild, bro.
Hey,
this is like rap back in '97, man.
This shit's not over.
Just they just need to shoot the one. That's it, man.
They
You
won't. They never do that.
Shoot the one, and then after that, usually niggas wake up. It's come on.
Or they get the strap.
It doesn't have to go down that road.
Well, no.
Yo, listen, man. Some people just can't take a loss. It's a shame.
Here goes the thing, though, right? Like when you see the information they're bringing up about each other, like you see, like the shots are getting lower as this goes along, and it's like, okay, like you're really seeing like, hey, this isn't like for play. Like, I think the thing is that I don't blame Joe Budden for being upset, because it's like, hey, you bringing up all this shit that like I've spoken about in the past just to kind of make me look bad, and I don't really like fuck with that. So It's like, by all means, like, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But what I will say is that at the same time, like this, it just doesn't seem like it's going in a good direction.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like it looks like it's going down a bad path. It's just wild, man, because you're looking at like what he's saying, what Joe's saying, and what Charlamagne's saying, and you're realizing like, yo, because of the people that are all surrounding them, like you would hate for this to become like one of those Troy Ave situations, right? Which I doubt it would be, because these are both like grown men in their 40s,
Right.
but it's wild because you're starting to realize like, yo, if what Budden is saying is true, it makes Charlamagne look like a grimy guy if he's pulling strings behind the curtains to see if they can kind of get not get Charlamagne, but get Joe Budden out of here, because to me it's like I told you before, I don't really believe too much in like irony anymore. So like if it quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it probably is.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this shit looks like to some extent, where it looks like Charlamagne might be trying to pull some strings in behind the scenes, and Joe is just kind of calling him out.
And that's essentially what he was saying too. He said, "Hey, look, I'm not gonna say I know who it is, but kind of looks like this dude." Yeah.
Kind of looks like a guy that's bald, black, and has a show with called Brilliant Idiots.
And lets dogs lick his nuts.
Oh my god.
Hey yo, actually, you know what was surprising to me about that whole thing?
What was that?
Well, outside of the dog licking his nuts thing, was he actually, where Joe Budden was talking about all the stuff that they gave up, right?
Yeah.
Because at first I thought I was saluting when I saw the news about Charlamagne having the podcast network or whatever. I was like, oh, that's dope. But me and one of my friends was talking about it, and I definitely did question, like, I don't know if he owns it, because it's still through iHeart and not like his own thing, right?
Yeah.
But
This is the shit that got me. Go ahead.
yeah, like, so come to find out, he owns, like, they own like 50-50 or whatever, right? Which means, which isn't a problem, but at the same time, that means you don't have full ownership of it, and like you're busting everything down just because, like, hey, they're putting money behind some shit, right? The weirdest thing was that he has all his homies and everything like that that's on the podcast network, everybody's show, but for some reason the Brilliant Idiots isn't on the show.
Right.
And I mean, I understand what that is. I understand it's the, hey, I'm going to sell everybody else's rights, but not mine.
Right.
Because essentially, if it makes sense to me, if you're on the network and the network is partially owned by the radio state, by our iHeart, I feel like to some extent it's like being on a label.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that would be Young Money. Essentially, like Charlamagne would be Cash Money and they would be Young Money. So you're getting paid you got to pay two people before you get paid, essentially.
And from what Joe Budden was saying, like, it sounded like most of those like shows were affiliated in some way, shape, or form with iHeart anyway. Like, so like it's one of those things where it's like, why are you necessarily getting paid off of our sweat? You know what I mean? Because it's like, that's what I got from it, and it honestly kind of made him once again sound kind of grimy, you know. Now, I personally don't know Charlamagne, none of us do, obviously, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, if he is behind the scenes pulling strings and, you know, kind of doing things, this just isn't really a good look for Charlamagne. And I'm curious to see because I'm sure we are going to hear more from him about Joe Budden soon enough.
Oh yeah, absolutely we will. I think I think what you said about the whole thing about them saying like, oh, why should Charlamagne get paid off their own sweat equity?
Mm,
Um, I think I didn't get really that necessarily. I just got the whole thing of, hey, you took all your people to a place where you've been working for 10 years just to get a bag, and you're kind of like selling some of their rights over
right,
just so you can you can make yourself some bread. Like to me that I got more of like the, you don't really own this because it's something that this only happened because the label's putting money behind you. It's not like you put in money. It's not like you put your own dough up
right,
at the end of the day. So it's like you said, more will be revealed about this down the line.
right.
I do think though, if Charlamagne is behind a lot of this stuff, it is going to look bad upon him. And on top of it, I just think, I don't know. I think that I personally, to me, I wouldn't sign to something like that. And I think people that are signed to it, I don't even think they really know the details of it because of the call he had with Nori, where Nori really didn't know what the whole thing was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It makes me wonder how far along this deal is actually finalized.
Well, it just got finalized. That's why it got announced.
Okay, well,
So I think maybe the logistics of the contract for everybody to understand. To me, I think the logistics of it for everybody, they'll get that later. They'll probably get more of that down the line because they probably just agreed to sign to his network, and he probably went to iHeart and said, "Hey, boom, I got this right here. What y'all trying to do?" Which I get, but at the same time, it goes against what I think what some would believe is like, yo, you should just put your own bread up. And on top of it, I think you should never want to get all your income from one place. Though you get paid for the Breakfast Club and you're getting paid for the podcast network, like you're making money off both of those things, but they're all owned by the same person
right,
essentially. Like at the end of the day, if iHeart has the opportunity to pull strings or have more leverage than he would expect, just because these are the same people he has to negotiate with when it comes to his Breakfast Club stuff. But there's already been a rumor that he's leaving Breakfast Club anyway. So
I'm sure he might. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things. Like
he
once
has a talk
again,
show coming.
we'll have to wait and see. He has a lot of things in the works, and I'm sure he'll probably try to just be on his own, which I think that's gonna be interesting to see how that works out. Shouts out to Joe Budden though. He's trying to do this shit on his own, and I really respect it. And I respect him for defending himself through this little campaign that's going on against him, no matter who it is.
Yeah, you paying Xbox prices for if he has a subscription service though?
You talking about Joe Budden? If
Yeah.
he's like getting a subscription service himself?
Yeah.
Look,
How much the new Xbox cost?
supposedly the new Xbox costs like what $3.99, $4.99 or something like that. I think one of
So
them are $2.99, the other one was like $4.99.
so if he said pay me $2.99 a year, would you listen to the Joe Budden podcast if he put it behind a paywall?
I'll listen to the Joe Budden podcast if he puts it behind maybe like a $2 paywall.
Not $2.99 though.
No.
Oh, you being cheap.
Hey, call it what it is. I respect Joe Budden. Like, no, don't get me wrong. I'm willing to put money in dude's pocket because at the end of the day, he makes some good content, and you gotta help out the creators. But at the same point in time, like, you gotta also like, I'm not sure how much I'll be willing to put into another subscription at the moment. I subscribe to all types of shit. Like, you know what I mean?
All you paying is
$2.99
$2.99 a
One
year.
$1.99 and he got me.
You're paying $1 less than $300 a year.
I'll be all right.
Nah,
I'll
you
be all
crazy.
right.
Hold on, you said it's $2.99?
Yeah, I was about to say, I think, yeah, the new Xbox is, but hold on, wait, look. So me and Lau, we've been talking about the new Xbox. The new Xbox is pretty damn cheap, right? Right?
I might buy like two of them shits.
So, but here's the thing: don't do that because if you're gonna get the new Xbox that's like $2.99, you might as well just get an Xbox One X that's out right now because the shit's not too different. It's just what it is. It's like you're essentially buying a glorified PC at that point in time because the console wars are going on and they're getting strong. Me personally, I'm gonna get a PS5. I am not fucking with Xbox anymore. I'm done. It's a wrap for me. Like, don't get me wrong, Microsoft, y'all are cool, but the
And
exclusives
we
are on
still accept
PlayStation.
sponsors.
We still accept sponsors, definitely. If y'all give me a Xbox, I'll play that shit.
I
I'll play
listen.
that shit for y'all.
I love any game controlling system that pays me the most.
But if y'all
I'll
don't
leave it
have
at that.
if y'all don't have Ghost of Tsushima though, I can't fuck with y'all. I'm sorry. Like not right now. Not right now. I'll come back. I'll play something else.
If they got
I'll
so
play
if
Halo.
they don't have that, but they got the bag, you still gonna say no?
Yeah, I got to pass, man, because it depends on what I'm paying. It depends on what I'm paying for, and right now the PS5 is looking too alluring.
I agree with Nigel, but also I think that to like really tell the story to like the listeners and all that for the ones that may not know like really what's going on, right? You have the Xbox Series S, which is like the economic console for $299. Then you have the Series X, which is the premium console for $499. Now, for somebody like Spence, right? No knock on Spence, but Spence doesn't really play video games. The Series S is right up his alley, right? Because he's going to be like, look, I've been thinking about getting a new video game console. The Series S, $300. What? I'm gonna hop on that. Because Spence, he might play a little bit of Grand Theft Auto. He might play some 2K. He might play some Madden. That's it. He ain't gonna get in the nitty gritty of video games like that because that's just
It's like
not
a
his.
$100 laptop.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope that you're not investing in $100.
Where'd you get that laptop from?
Yeah,
Jesus, throw
I hope you're
that shit
not.
in the trash.
That's a waste of your money. The company
laptop.
Yeah. So,
But this coupon is $75.
Shit.
yeah.
All right. What's that thing playing? Like fucking
Yeah.
putt? Like what the fuck?
So I truly think that
That shit's only playing Duck Hunt. That's all it's playing, man. Like you're not playing shit else on that bitch. Like
I think, man, like for real,
Got it for school.
$100 ain't gonna cut it, bro. But
that shit won't
Can't
be able
even
to
put
type.
a word.
yeah,
Can't even put a word on that shit.
It'll
Yeah, I was
take
gonna
5 words a
say,
minute. Like you know what I mean? Like
you can't even install Microsoft Office programs on that bitch, man. That's crazy. But
Jeez.
but like for real though, like from a consumer perspective and all that, I think that what the Xbox is doing is great because you're gonna have a lot of parents out there and a lot of people who are into video games like Spence that they look at that 300 price tag. They're like, look, I don't give a fuck about PlayStation exclusives and none of that shit. I'm gonna get myself, the cheaper console. It could run on 4K. All right, cool. I could play Madden 2K with, somewhat of the latest graphics. All right, cool. And that's kind of like what that console is catering to, right?
right.
That console isn't catering to people like me and you, Nigel, who are like, look, we actually like the games, that's coming out, blah blah blah. That I feel like that's that the Series S is a casual console. You know what I mean?
But here's my thing though, like for the kids, like, and I'll say like, let's say 12 to 16, who actually know kind of what's going on and say, hey, like this game has the better exclusives and the games all my friends are playing that I can't get on Xbox and I can still get them on PlayStation. Then what? You know what I mean? Because like for like maybe a kid that's like 9 or 10, if you want them to have that console, then yeah, sure you can get it for them. But like I think majority of people who know better, which I'm not going to assume too much about the consumer because I don't know them. But what I will say is that some consumers know what they're talking about. And some consumers will go to the PlayStation because if they know what they're talking about, then they don't want a glorified Xbox One X.
No, and my thing about it is like, right, my prediction is the PlayStation 5 is gonna beat the Xbox in sales, right? Even
Blow
though
it
it's
out
gonna
of the
be
water.
even though it's gonna be more expensive and all that stuff like that, it's gonna be overall I feel like more people are going to buy it, not only for the games, but because of, like you said, hey, I could get the exclusive games, but I also could get the same games that's out on Xbox, right? As far as
Right.
like third party titles, right? We all know Halo's, Xbox, blah, blah, blah. But
Right.
what I'm saying is it's like for the people who don't give a rat's ass about video games, but they just want to have some type of entertainment in their homes, right? Spence is about to get a new crib, right? And he's setting up his entertainment system. he's like, I'm gonna get the $300 Xbox when I have folks come over.
And play with who?
When I have phone them come over, they might play. They might gonna play. They're gonna play together in the living room.
I'm just saying he won't be playing with me or you because we're not getting that shit. His friends.
Spence doesn't.
Hey, then you just can't come.
But
Can't come over to her.
Pause, right?
Pause. Heavy on the pause.
Yeah. But Spence doesn't care about that. That's, you know what I mean. He's not. That's why. But Spence is not buying that for that though, and that's what I'm trying to say, right? Spence might not even spend an hour playing Call of Duty online. That's just, and I'm not. And once again, Spence is here. I'm not knocking him. He knows I'm not knocking him. It's the truth. The motherfucker don't. None. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like if we all chilling, Spence might be like, "Yo, give me the Xbox controller. Let me play a game, or let me go around and shoot some people up in Grand Theft Auto." Because we all just chilling. But on his own time, there's other things he'd rather do on his own time to play video games, and that's what I'm saying. That console is for people like Spence. You know what I mean?
It's not a vintage.
Yeah,
pinky.
I hear you, but at the same point in time, I just think that if let's just say for somebody like Spence, let's keep on using Spence as the example.
Okay.
Why? Well, no, because it works.
I feel like a kid that's sitting there during a custody battle. It's like, okay, I'm here. I know who you guys are talking about. You know that, right?
Well, no, I mean it works. So let's say somebody like Spence. Let's say he's a smart consumer and he's going to get something like that. He doesn't feel like spending like $800 on the new PS5, which I'm sure it won't cost that much. But he does buy the Xbox. Okay, cool, that's fine. He gets him, whatever. But if Spence is going to buy it, and if he's going to buy a console anyway, you figure that he would just go for the better console, or he could even go cheaper and just get a Switch. Like if price is the cost, and you're talking about just playing games with his friends inside his house, he has better options on a Switch. And
that's Nintendo though, right?
Yeah, you talking about Smash, Mario Kart, the games that you'll actually want to play with people, Mario Party.
But you gotta realize though, I think it goes like two ways because it depends. Like I have some friends most of my friends they all play that, but like most of my friends also like the regular, like not regular games, but the games, if you know what I mean, like San Andreas,
right?
The Call of Duties, the motherfucking 2K or whatever.
The casual games.
Yeah.
The casual games. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it can go either way, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I'll put it like this though: if PlayStation is $50 within that range, they're taking it easy.
Well, we'll find out this Wednesday because they have a dedicated like 1 hour event. Yeah. So. Yeah, the speculation is they're going to reveal the prices, pre-orders, release date, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, my prediction is the standard consoles can be $500, but the digital version is going to be $400. That's my prediction.
The console wars continue, and the political wars continue as well.
Yeah, man. Fucking, I mean... Shit, well, fuck it. I'm gonna let you just start it off. Start off with your guy, man.
I mean, we're gonna start off there. We're gonna start off with Cardi B and Candy Owens talking about the guy.
So let me just speak on that the Cardi B shit, right? So, I honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know where the whole argument stemmed from, but I know Cardi B made multiple videos responding to Candace Owens, and now there's like this thing about like, oh, well, Cardi B. She's an entertainer. She doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. She should stay out of politics. And plus, the type of music she makes is degrading for women, blah, blah, blah. And that's like, the go-to argument when you're trying to chastise a fucking rapper and all that stuff like that. And I feel like it sucks. And I feel like it's dumb. And I feel like Cardi B, she has the right to opinion, just like other people who aren't fucking credible and aren't fucking got nothing going on in their life neither. They have the right to their opinions as well. But, of course, since it's Cardi B, she's on a platform, she's going to get a lot more hate than the unknown person. And I look at it as like it's really stupid and it's really like... you guys know I'm not the biggest Candace Owens fans anyway. I feel like she talk about Terry Crews being a coon, right? I think she's a coon herself. And I look at it as like it's pointless. You know,
Move
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
yeah. I totally feel you on that. Like, I mean, I I know it did. I think it did. This whole thing actually did stem from like that whole WAP, the whole WAP song, and then like it was she was talking about WAP, and I think because I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it or if you guys saw it, but Cardi B had interviewed Joe Biden. So Candace Owens was speaking her mind on that whole situation, and then was just like, because she's pregnant, which I wasn't aware of. So
Who?
she's Candace Owens.
Oh, I was like, oh
Yeah,
shit! It's like Offset did it again. Like,
take
I
off. Yo,
I wouldn't be surprised if he does it again though. Like,
what's happening?
yeah,
yeah.
Give it time.
yeah.
I ain't surprised.
I mean,
But
can you blame him? Shouts out to Offset.
yeah, no, yeah, you don't want him to Falcon punch you and shit.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
That's true.
but nah, so like apparently Candace Owens, she's pregnant and all of that shit. So she said what she had to say. Cardi B replied, blah blah blah, da da da. They went back and forth. I mean, like you said, I agree. Everybody got their own opinion. I mean, we'll see if it. I don't even think nothing more will come of this. But I mean, to be honest with you, only the one thing I will say is like I'm not really a big fan of like I'm not a big fan of like the chastising of women on like on their music content because like I always say like at the end of the day I always look at music from the standpoint of okay, as a guy this is what I like listening to, and sometimes there may be like some ignorant music sprinkled in there that there's possibility that there may be some misogynistic lyrics within there, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the saying, for me, I feel as though no one has the right to say, oh, as a guy, able to accept it as it's cool, but like a woman doesn't have the right to listen to that type of music for her own personal expression. So,
Right.
like, I
Get
think
your
to me,
shit
that's
off.
yeah, exactly. Like, yo, because at the end of the day, we all the same to some extent. Like, she wanted just as bad as you at the end of the day. So like she gonna talk about it. So to me, I don't really get too much into that. So it
Yeah.
is what it is, though.
And
That's all I can say.
if she gonna talk about her politics shit, then she's gonna do that too. And
Yeah,
personally, I anybody who's talking who's down in Trump at this point in time, like I personally I'm with him because like some of the shit that he's been doing for the past like few days has been kind of crazy.
okay.
Like you saw he decided to run back the 1619 project, which was going on in California, where I guess that they were going to talk about some of the impacts of slavery on the United States and, you know, actually kind of give like a truer picture of what it actually did. And I was all down for that. You know what I mean? Like it seemed like that might have actually been a good thing for us to hear. And he said that it was divisive. And I think he said that it essentially was bringing hate into schools or something along those lines.
Hold on, what?
Yeah, that's what that's about. Did you not hear about that?
I saw something about that, but I didn't get too deep into it.
Yeah, if you look into it, Donald Trump, like, let me read you what I saw. Hold on, wait, because the shit kind of blew my mind. I was like, how can you say that? You know what I mean? All right. So he said that essentially it will reframe American history. It will not be any schools that do that will not be funded. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, like he's firmly against the 1619 project, and I just kind of don't understand why. Because it was going to emphasize the role of slavery and the contributions of African Americans,
Mm,
according to this article I just read. I don't know much
yeah,
about it, so you know I can't really speak too much. But if that is what it was going to do, then why would you try and do that?
yeah. I mean, everybody has their own. I, man, I can't even. I don't even know what to say to be honest with you. All I can. It's kind of just crazy at the end of the day. It's just a whole weird thing to not want something like that. But I mean, it is what it is. So,
So I mean, it's not really worth defending him on that one because apparently he was
oh
talking to.
no, I'm not defending nobody. I ain't
Oh no,
defending.
I'm not saying you, but I mean like if you saw, you know, he also lied to us about coronavirus.
Oh yeah, I mean Fauci. I mean, listen, man, Fauci had a lot to say about. Well, not a lot to say currently. He's been saying a lot still, but I mean, Fauci was one of the big main people saying early on, like, hey, this is more serious than what they're letting on for us to know. So
Right.
I'm not too surprised. I'm not. Well, I'm not gonna say I'm not too surprised. It is a little alarming. So I mean, but well, outside of like the whole Trump thing, right?
Right.
Speaking of like, because it just made me think of it's totally unrelated, but like with power, right?
Right.
We talk about like power and shit. Do you guys watch that show?
Nah.
So I stopped watching it after the Shade Room spoiled every fucking thing.
I stopped watching it after Spence spoiled everything that one night when we were watching the pay-per-view.
What?
I said, Spence, I haven't watched the show. Stop. And Lau and, his missus were like, no, Spence, spoil it. It's okay. It's okay. And I was like,
thought you
no,
covered
please.
your ears though.
No, I didn't, man, because it was hard because you were talking loud as hell. And I told you, don't do that.
Yo.
I said, stop. I said, please stop. And you said, so anyway. And I was like, all right. Like, I had no choice but to listen. We were in a small, well, my living room's not that big.
I think I probably lied because you were listening. More than likely, that's what I did.
I don't know. And I guess I'll never know now. Why? Because
what did I say the ending was like?
you said everything.
Well, I remember you made comments about like when Angela
Kizzy.
died. Yeah, no Kizzy. No Kizzy. Yeah, you're right.
Kizzy,
That's straight Kizzy.
That shit's stupid. Bro.
That's straight Kizzy. Hey, so real quick, guys, right? And
we're about to wrap it up.
No,
My name is Missy Elliott.
the last thing I kind of like want to mention just to get your guys quick thoughts on John Wall, right? He was throwing up, he was throwing up the shits, you know what I mean, representing his set, you know what I mean, and
The Billies.
yeah, and then I guess he was getting some backlash from it because within the same day, he came out with a PR apology. Regretting his decision. In reality, we know he doesn't regret it, but so here's my opinion on it. I don't think he should have apologized. Should he have been going around throwing up gang signs, even though he's a well-known basketball player? No, but you shouldn't have apologized for it, bro. Like you weren't doing nothing criminal. You know what I mean? It's just next time, I guess, just be more aware of what you're doing when the camera is recording you.
Here's the thing, right?
He was aware of what was happening.
Yeah, he was very aware.
There was a guy watching him on the camera.
That's when he held up the bandana. Like that's when he held it up the highest.
Yeah, but what was crazy was the fact, like, for one, you could tell, like, oh, he's in the middle of some shit, right? First and foremost, he's somewhere he shouldn't be at. And you see one person filming him, and then the person filming him shows a person filming John Wall. So he's filming the guy that is John Wall. John Wall literally throws up his set, throws up all of that, and then you could tell he knew when the camera was on. Because you could tell, like, dude was like, oh, you rock with the Billies, da-da-da. You saw him reach for his pocket, scrimmaging through just to find the bandana and threw it up. I'm like, come on, fam.
Yeah, nah. I understand why he apologized, man. He's a public figure, on an organization that's probably like, hey, take care of that shit now. Because,
but he also throws up gang signs anyway, though.
Say that again?
He's thrown up gang signs. He's thrown up blood signs plenty of times before.
While he's playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
while he's playing, he's been doing it. Yeah.
I can't speak for that, then. Never mind. If they're letting that shit go, then they should be okay with that.
Fam, there's a whole GIF on Twitter of him just throwing up gang signs after a fast break.
Yeah,
the crowd.
They say gang sign Wall is like the best John Wall. Like,
Yo.
John Wall may be one of the most unique people of all time, honestly.
I mean, like, John Wall, here's the problem I have with John Wall, right? As a person, I don't think he's a bad person, right? Because, of course, you're going to have detractors come out, oh, well, he's a gangbanger, blah, blah. We don't need gangbangers, blah, blah, blah. But people are going to ignore the fact that, when that girl was, like, innocently, like murdered in DC, he did a whole like fucking march and try to bring awareness to it. He donated.
Right.
So like he's a good person, right? I think what John Wall where he's going to get his criticism from is kind of like, damn, dude, you're making more money than LeBron sitting on the fucking bench, and when you're off the bench, you're not contributing your team to a successful run. And I think that's kind of harsh as well. But I think
He be upset.
yeah.
Well,
So go ahead, Nigel.
Well, no, I was going to change the subject. You're good.
No, go ahead, bro. You good? You speak your shit, man.
Real quick.
No, he said he was about to. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick before we go, the finals are kind of shaping up. Who do y'all have? The Lakers against Nuggets or Clippers, or Heat versus the Celtics?
What? I think you worded that kind of wrong, bro.
I did kind of. I worded it. I worded it weirdly.
So it's either Lakers
Heat versus y'all. Who are y'all taking in the Heat?
It's either Heat versus Heat or Celtics. On the East, it's Heat or Celtics. On the West, it's either LA Clippers, Lakers, or the Nuggets.
Right.
So real quick, I think the Heat is going to beat Boston. I think there's going to be a 6-game series with the Heat going over. And for the West, I would like to still say it's going to be LA versus LA. This Nugget shit, I think it has shocked everybody.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we got any. I'm sorry, my bad. Go ahead. Oh, damn. I didn't even let you get your shot.
Hell nah.
Go ahead, my bad.
You people see how they treat me here, man. Nah, I got LA versus LA. It could be the Nuggets. I've heard some stuff, but I'm gonna I gotta just stick with LA versus LA. And on the East, I got the Nuggets. Not the Nuggets. I got the Heat coming out of the East, and I think it may end up being Lakers versus Heat in the finals. And I might go to like maybe a game 6. So
it's fair enough.
Probably game 5, honestly.
I want the Heat versus Clippers. You know what I mean? I like Kawhi. Shouts out to Kawhi. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Heat the Clippers. That's the finals I'm hoping for too, Nigel.
Yeah, but
man, they're not letting LeBron lose.
Yeah. Nah, they're not. We got any?
Go ahead, you could.
We got any final words?
The NFL's back.
The NFL is back, as you can see.
Facts.
Steelers. Shouts out to Pittsburgh. Shouts out to McKee Sports. Shouts out to
All right, guys. That's episode 26 of the podcast.
You've been highly advised.
Shouts out McKee Sports. Shouts out Clariton, yo.
Wow, you had to get it in, huh?
Hell yeah, they need to know.
We just ended the podcast and you still talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
My family might be listening to this. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're listening to it for the Steelers shout-outs.
Yeah, of course. But nah, it's like for real. Shouts out to the Steelers, though.
Nah. But, yeah, so I guess that's it, really. I mean, y'all got anything else to say?
No, that's just it, man. Everybody, continue to tune in to the games and try to enjoy a little bit of normal stuff coming back, even though we might get a crazy second wave of the pandemic, quote unquote.
Yes. Wear your mask, wear your sanitizer, watch Power, Book 2.
Wow.
Goes.
Be safe. Be safe, y'all.
Stay dangerous.
Stay dangerous. Y'all been highly advised.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yo, did we talk about